Smiling faces, warm embraces, possibilities all ignite. Then the next morning, I drive to work. People annoy me, and I'm spilling.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're getting started on a really exciting project. I am going to be tackling my kitchen. This is the downstairs kitchen if you saw my house tour video that I put up last week, and it's not currently in use right now. I'm using the upstairs kitchen, so it's the perfect opportunity to just go wild in here. This is gonna be a series on my channel. There's no way I could tackle an entire kitchen in 1 week. I have a full-time job, and also the lead time on materials could be like 6 to 8 weeks. So yeah, I can't get this done all in 1 week. So this video is gonna be really covering the design process and the planning. Since I'm taking out a structural wall and also moving some of my plumbing and electricity around, I needed to work with an architect, and we need to get a permit from the city. So all of those things take time. So the planning for my kitchen is a little bit more involved than I think most kitchen renos are. I don't know, this is my first one, so I don't want to make any broad assumptions or generalizations, but from what I've picked up on, you don't usually need a permit to do a kitchen, and I do, so gives you an idea. The reason I'm starting in the kitchen isn't necessarily because I think it's the room in the house that needs the most help. Like, this kitchen is perfectly functional. You can see it's pretty big, but because this house is a two-family home, and one of the reasons I like that it's a two-family home is that we have the two kitchens, so I can demo this kitchen without really having to have my routine alter that much. That means I have to keep that in mind when I'm looking at the timeline of doing everything. I would ideally want to do the bathroom upstairs. I think my bathrooms are in worse shape than the kitchens are, but because of the way I want to rework the upstairs kitchen and bathroom area, it would mean pulling out that upstairs kitchen as well. It also means moving the plumbing around upstairs, which you kind of have to do from under here. So it would be one, doing a job twice, like having to rearrange the plumbing twice, and two, kind of getting rid of one of the pluses that I saw about this house is that I could use that kitchen and take my time in this one. So because of the timeline of how things have to be, which is this kitchen, bring all the plumbing upstairs, then rework the rooms upstairs, I really need to do this one first because all of my other projects are kind of lined up behind it. It's also because I love to cook. I've been vegan for like 7.5 years now. Anyone with dietary restrictions knows that you kind of have to get good at cooking for yourself because you can't just order whatever you want. To fill a lot of those cravings, you just have to figure out how to make it yourself. So I got into cooking that way, and it's a really large part of my life. And I want to be able to have friends and family over and feed them. It's how I like to show my love to the people in my life. So on the more personal side, that's the other reason behind doing the kitchen first. Now that we've gotten through all of that, I want to take you guys into my design process.
Why do my New Year's resolutions never reach their full evolutions? Faced with the day, it all fades away in January.
I talked with my architect about what I wanted, the feel of the kitchen. I sent her my mood board, and so she came up with 4 different options for me. We're taking out the wall and leaving the chimney in all of them, but immediately when I looked at this, square is not right. It just feels off balance with the room. I also thought maybe a peninsula, because this wall is already closed off. It wouldn't feel that different to have a closed off peninsula. I toyed with it. Once I was actually holding up and marking where the peninsula would be, it did make that kitchen feel really closed in. And one of the reasons I'm removing the wall is so that it doesn't feel that way. So it wouldn't make sense to go down that. Then it became these two as the options. My initial thought was to do the larger island, but again, when I was marking it out, it just didn't feel quite right. Having this island with 3 feet on either side just felt more balanced. It also had me thinking that the stove doesn't make sense where it is. I want the stove and the island to kind of be centered together. I've met with my architect since to go over these because I was mostly happy with the plans, but not completely. I really want to have the sink in the island and the dishwasher as well. And I want that stove in the center of the kitchen, not off to the side. So the stove is going to be right here. The sink is going to be here with the dishwasher here. And we're actually going to be closing up this window. I was thinking about adding another window to the other side of the stove and like making this window a little bit smaller to balance it out, but that was just gonna be more expensive. It was getting rid of more storage that I really do need in this house. So my next thought was, okay, so if I can't add another window, then I should just remove the one that's already there. It looks out onto my neighbor's siding, which isn't anything special. So instead, I'm going to just remove the window. Because I'm opening up this wall and I have so many windows in here already, I don't really worry about there being enough natural light coming into the kitchen. Now I'm just waiting for the final architectural plans and then we can submit the permit for the kitchen. We already have the demo permit for the kitchen, so I'll be able to demo all of this myself, no problem. I'm still figuring out exactly what type of cabinets I want to use. I'm thinking about doing cabinet authority and putting them all together myself. I want to save as much money as I can on this kitchen, and doing those myself makes the most sense. I also want to be able to look around my kitchen and know that I did it, that it's like my hard work and handiwork that I'm looking at and not somebody else's.
And I'll see beauty in all the little things, promises filled.
All right, so we're at my laptop. When I first started designing all the rooms in this house, I hadn't even closed on it yet, and I went to Pinterest. Pinterest is a great place to get started, to start experimenting and figuring out what you think will look good in your room. So we're gonna go to Pinterest. So I started by searching up Victorian kitchen, and I just began saving all of the rooms that I liked. This is really without thinking too much. I would say whatever you like, whether you think it'll look good in your kitchen or not, just save it, because you never know what like pieces of the room are really drawing you to it, and it can be easier than you think to incorporate them. So I was looking through a lot of these, and they weren't really, like I like this, but that's so light. I'll save it, but it's not exactly what I want. I don't have wood floors, and I also don't want to do white cabinetry. I do like that the cabinets go all the way to the ceiling, and I definitely want to include that. I also like the trim that continues around the cabinets to the rest of the room. I knew even when I started looking that I wasn't going to be able to do wood floors in the kitchen, even though I think they look really nice and are probably ideal. The floors in my house are mostly white oak, which if you know anything about wood floors, those are really expensive. And they've also been aged almost 125 years. Even if I paid for new white oak floors to go into the kitchen, they still wouldn't match up with what I have here. The kitchen right now has that ugly gray tile that I really don't like in it, but tile isn't a bad thought for that room. And as I was looking, I was seeing all these checkerboard, like kind of diagonal checkerboard floors. Now that I've identified a stylistic choice that I want to make in the kitchen, I'm gonna look at more pins. Another style choice that I know I want to make in the kitchen is that I want colorful cabinets. I don't want to do a neutral tone. I really want to do something a little bit more interesting. And I've had the idea to do purple in a kitchen for the longest. When I first was thinking about doing a purple kitchen, I had it in my head that it would be in this beautiful Victorian kitchen with like 12-foot ceilings and all of these windows, and you could do like an eggplant purple in the cabinet, and it would be so moody and rich and just, oof. I still love the idea of that, but that's not what would fit this house. First of all, I don't have 13-foot ceilings. The ceilings are like just under 10 feet, so they're still higher, but they're definitely not 12 or 13 foot high. But that idea of a purple kitchen still sits with me. Once you've saved those initial pins, you can then go to your board, but you look through your pins and you start to pick up on themes. Like, I really like this beadboard backsplash and continuing it into glass cabinetry as well, so it would go all the way up the wall. It think it looks really nice, and it also keeps the kitchen from feeling too tile heavy. Because I'm doing tiles on the floor, having tiles on the wall, I don't know, I just feel like it wouldn't be quite right. And beadboard's kind of an answer to that. It kind of reminds me of color drenching, but not quite, because obviously it's not the whole room. But having that backsplash and the cabinets be all the same color, and it also has the black and white. Still, I don't want to do green, but I really like the brass. I'm really liking an old style sink. I'm really liking this farmhouse sink. So you start to pick up on what you like out of spaces. Yeah, I just really also started seeing these lights. I really love this light. We're doing 2 pendant lights over the island, and I think this lamp is like perfect. So I am definitely gonna add that to my Milano board. I was starting to pick up on a lot of the kitchens I was seeing and liking had really pretty black stoves with brass accents. I knew I would definitely want to do brass accents, but the black kind of surprised me. Something I also have to think about, because I've got that island, is whether I want to do it purple. So I've seen kind of dark wood islands with more creamy cabinetry, and I think I really want to do that. So have all the cabinets be painted and the island be stained. I really think it would look nice. So once I had gotten an idea for the design, I put everything that I liked on here. I really liked the pendant lightings over the island. I really liked having the sink in the island as well, which isn't as commonly done. And you can see all of mine have this black stove, so I grabbed the black stove. And I really like both of these lights, but this one has just a bit more texture, and I think it's just a little bit better. I also went down the rabbit hole of looking at tiles. So this is kind of the general vision for the kitchen, and now I've got this figured out, we can start getting paint samples and deciding on colors.
It all melts way before spring, 'cause the next morning we're late for school.
So I've got the samples of the tiles that I was showing you guys. I think it makes the most sense to kind of pick the tile first, because I have a lot fewer options for it. With paint, there's so many different variations. And the tile that I want, I have a very specific vision in my head. I want that kind of like matte, chalky, not slippery. I want it to look creamy and beautiful. And I really love that diagonal checkerboard. The samples are small, but the tiles are gonna be an 8x8, so they'll be a good size. They're not gonna be like this little, I think it's a 3x3 square. That would be too busy no matter what I did. So the tiles, just so you know, are gonna be bigger than this. So the tile samples that I was looking at all came. This is the first one. It's kind of, you can't tell, and I guess on video it's good, but like it's all flat. If you can see, this looks like it's kind of raised because they added a shadow to it, but it's all flat. It's made to look like it's been roughed up. This is the only one like this that I was really thinking of, and as soon as the sample came, I'm like, this is not what I'm going for, it's not right. Now, I really want to make sure that it doesn't feel like too much, because I'm going to have purple cabinets and a blue living room right next to each other. There is a delicate balance of color, pattern, but not overwhelming. So I did get all of the colors in this tile sample that I liked. They have the chalk dark, the chalk gray, the chalk white, and the chalk silver. There was the kind of the slight thought of, what if I did 2 darks, did a checkerboard with 2 dark colors? I think that could look really nice, but because the ceilings are lower in here and I want to do cabinetry all the way up in a purple color, I just was thinking it was going to feel too dark. I love a dark and moody, but that doesn't really feel like this house. I'm thinking it's more like moody Victorian cottage is the better way to describe the sense of this house that I get. And this is just not cottagey to me. It's almost too grand, if that makes sense. And I think it would just be too dark. So I'm then choosing between one of these two to be my lighter color. I think you can tell this kind of has more gray in it, while this is definitely warmer. And the whole house, I really don't love cool tones. I don't love grays as much. I want it to feel warm and inviting. So for me, it was immediate. I definitely want to do the chalk white versus the chalk silver. I'm happy I got the samples of all of them so that I can feel really sure about the decision, but definitely chalk white. The question then becomes, how dark do I want to go on the checkerboard? I could do classic checkerboard with kind of black and white. This is chalk dark, chalk white, but I think it'll just be too busy. I want you to notice the floors, but I don't want that to be the only thing you're looking at when you enter the house. And I just feel this is too dark. Like if you look at it next to like these two, this just feels more right. They're not so dark. It's still gonna obviously read checkerboard, but it won't be so attention grabbing and intense. So I'm definitely gonna do the chalk gray and chalk white in 8x8 squares. They are porcelain tiles that are a matte. With the colors of the floor figured out, I can now then introduce paint into the scenario and figure out what color paint I want to do. The big moment, I'm doing purple cabinets, so obviously finding the right purple where it won't feel too cartoony or too much is really important. And I went through so many. I've had so many sample cards. I thought about going darker. I was kind of letting myself think along the lines, if I did that really dark checkerboard, would I want to do darker walls so it all like feels cohesive? But this space, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit the house. So I'm then thinking lighter. So these are the 3 purples that I got it down to. I have like 8 different samples and I got it down to these 3. So immediately, I feel like this is a trend. This is very different than these 2. It's just too dark, I think, in here. Just gonna like hold it up. I have to remember, because I'm doing that beadboard and it's gonna be all over this wall. This color is gonna be all over the walls up to the ceiling. This is just too much. I think it's too dark. I also think when you put it together with the tile, it's just too dark. I think it would feel very heavy in here and I don't want that. So Frozen in Time is out. Then comes back to these 2, which is Sleepy Hollow and Amethyst Sky. I think they both look really nice with the tile. I think both of them could work. I'm guessing a lot of you are staring at your screens thinking those are like the same color, which I understand. Some people can't see the difference. I feel like they're very obviously different to me. And one of them is definitely what I'm leaning towards, and you saw me just go like this. It's along the same lines as why I chose the chalk white for the tile. It's just got more warmth to it. Amethyst Sky is more warm, while the Sleepy Hollow I think leans a little gray, which is another thing I was worried about. I don't want this room to feel gray. I want it to be obvious that it's like purple. And I think this is kind of that perfect taupey purple color paint that I picked out. Because the purple is such a focal point in the room, I think it's what I really should base things around. It's also following my vision of wanting to do a purple kitchen for years now. Getting the purple was to me the most important. The other colors I have to think about while doing this kitchen space is the living room and dining room. Because I'm going to be taking down this structural wall and removing the French doors between the dining room and the living room, they're really going to feel like one space. And so I didn't want to do purple in there because I think it's just too much purple and I don't want to like confine myself to one color for the whole house. I loved what I did to my living room at my old apartment. And so blue was really calling my name. I also just love blue. I find it so calming. My furniture, which I don't plan on replacing a lot of it, all went with that other living room. It's one of the reasons I chose blue for that living room. So for me, I'm not gonna do the exact same color or like the exact same makeover again because that's pointless, but I do still wanna go down that blue route. I used a lot of the old samples that I had from when I was redoing the living room last time. And so Dusty Cornflower, that was one of them that stuck around. And this was actually a new one. French Toil. Toil? I don't know how you pronounce that. Did you read it? Oh, it's backwards for you. But French Toil, I really like this color. I think I would initially, if I wasn't thinking about the cohesion between the spaces, I would go with Dusty Cornflower because it's got more to it and I don't want the space to feel boring or like gray. And I think some people might think that French Toil is gray. I don't think it's gray, but I had my mom was like, is that gray? And I was like, no, it's not. Don't say that. Oh my God, don't say that. You'll send me into a tailspin. But the reason I'm thinking about these blues, like I said, is to make sure it flows with the purple. So I then compared them to my choice for purple. And this just feels too clowny. They're just too bright together. It's like clowny versus sophisticated, grace, creamy, beautiful. If that makes sense. I don't know. I feel like you guys who are watching will understand what I'm saying. This feels right. This feels wrong. I have it now narrowed down to the two wall colors I'm gonna do. This is going to be on the cabinets in here, and this is going to be on the walls in the living room and the dining room. Figure out what's gonna go on the ceiling, on some of the trim. We've got these two options. Now we look at them with these. And to me, it's another obvious option. I'm lucky that I'm very decisive. I know some people do struggle with like design things. I just know what I like. And as soon as I saw the timid white with these two, they just go so well. It feels so right. While the ice milk, it's just too green for this. It just doesn't fit the style. Like I said, I want everything to feel really creamy and dreamy, and this is just not it. So official colors chosen, we're doing Amethyst Sky on the cabinetry, French Toil or Tuile on the living room and dining room walls, and Timid White is gonna be on the ceilings on this entire first floor, as well as any trim that needs to be painted. All right, with that, I'm gonna leave you guys here. I am so excited to get working on this kitchen. Now that I've got my design all figured out, everything in here needs to get taken out. I'm so excited to get started on this project, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Why do our New Year's resolutions never reach their full evolutions? Faced with the day